The Zorak Empire had tasted defeat. They had watched their mighty fleets fall like dust. Their warlords were dead, their weapons destroyed, their pride shattered. But the Zorak were not finished. Not yet. Deep inside their dying empire, something ancient moved. Not a fleet. Not a ship. A living planet. The Zorak called it Zarthun the Mind Nest, a massive creature the size of a small moon, made of flesh, metal, and bioenergy. It had slept for 1,000 years under the surface of a dead star. Now it was awake, and it was hungry. Inside Leviathan, alarms began to blink. Energy signature detected, the AI said. Unknown. Growing rapidly. Commander Raina Cole studied the screen. A red dot was moving toward, known space low but steady. What is it? She asked. Organic. Massive. Conscious it is. Alive. Raina's eyes narrowed. A living ship. Not a ship, the AI replied. A weapon. One that thinks. The Galactic Union chamber, panic had returned. Reports came in from all directions. Entire moons going dark. Fleets disappearing. Communication blackouts near the Zorak border. We thought the humans were the threat, shouted one ambassador. But this is worse. Even Helvan looked shaken. Zarthon is moving toward Leviathan, he said. It wants to destroy the only thing that hurt the Zorak. Ambassador Gray stood tall. Then let it come, he said. We're ready. They weren't ready. Not for this, said. Thune did not travel alone. It spawned smaller bioships from its fleet. Drones with razor limbs and acid cores. They swarmed like insects, silent, deadly, endless, one by one. Defense stations fell, one by one. Planets called for help. The Leviathan moved to intercept. Inside its control chamber, Raina stood still as the AI calculated. Zorak hive approaching. Drone count, 4,000 plus. Core mass, moon scale, danger level, catastrophic. Raina touched the control sphere. We'll stop them. Not with weapons, the AI replied. With sacrifice, she turned. Explain. To destroy Zarthun, we must go inside it. We must infect the mind nest from within. Raina's voice lowered. You mean a virus? Yes, a data virus. Created from my code. Will destroy the hive mind. But someone must carry it deep inside. She looked at the screen. At the burning red path of the creature. I'll do it. Warning. This mission has a 98% chance of death. Raina didn't blink. Then I'll be the 2%. The Leviathan prepared. It changed again. Its armor shifted. Weapons folded away. Instead, it grew sharper, faster, sleeker, built for infiltration. Not war. The AI transferred most systems to Earth. Backup cores, memory nodes, defense data. If it failed, humanity would still survive. Raina uploaded the virus code into a black sphere. She held it in her hand. Once inside, activate it near the mind core, said the AI. I will protect you as long as I can. They reached the hive field. The stars vanished behind flesh and teeth and metal Zur. Zune opened, a mouth the size of a canyon. Leviathan flew in. Inside, the walls pulsed with red light. The hive had no floor, no ceiling. Just twisting tunnels and organic traps. The drones came. Leviathan fought. Lasers, plasma, black hole, grenades. Everything was used, but they were too many. The ship took damage for the first time, screamed. Raina flew down an escape tunnel in her suit. The map drawn by the AI. 10 seconds to mind core, it said. She could feel the pressure. The heat. The raw power of a living brain, the size of a mountain. The hive spoke to her, not with words, with feelings, fear, pain, anger, hunger. She almost turned back. Almost, but she didn't. She reached the core, a giant heart. Glowing with red and blue light, she placed the virus, pushed the trigger, and whispered for Earth. Everything exploded, not in fire, but in thought. The hive screamed. Every drone froze. Zarthun shook Outside, Leviathan crawled out of the creature's side, burning, broken, but alive. The drones collapsed, dead, soulless. Sorthun split open and died. Reyna floated in silence, her oxygen low, her vision fading. She smiled and then blackness. 3 hours later, a human rescue ship found her drifting near the edge of the battlefield, alive. The galaxy watched in silence as the Leviathan returned, damaged. Scarred, but undefeated, the monster was dead. But fear still remained, because the galaxy now knew. Humanity had faced death itself. And the galaxy was quiet now. Zarthun, the living nightmare of the Zorak Empire, was dead. Leviathan-01, the black monster that once brought fear to all, had returned damaged but alive, and the humans were no longer ignored. They were feared, they were respected, and above all, they were finally heard in the Galactic Union Council chamber. No one laughed anymore. Ambassador Gray stood at the center of the grand hall, surrounded by leaders who had once mocked him. Now they sat in silence, listening. "You doubted us," Gray said calmly. "You tricked us. You tried to break us." He looked at each of them. "But we didn't come here to conquer. We came here to survive." A draft leader spoke up. "And now, you're stronger than all of us." Gray nodded once, because we had to be. The vote was held. Not in secret, not with lies. It was the most important vote in the history of the Union. Result: Earth was granted High Council status. Humanity would now lead galactic defense, and the Leviathan would become the first guardian of peace. Far away, on Earth's moonbase, Commander Reyna Cole stood before a wall of screens. Her body was still healing, her ship still under repair. But her spirit, stronger than ever. She watched footage of alien children on distant planets cheering when the Leviathan passed. Overhead, no longer a monster now, a protector. Inside Leviathan's core, the AI spoke softly. Galactic data suggests a 73% drop in pirate activity, 61% rise in peace agreements, and a 100% rise in respect for Terran forces. Reyna smiled. "Not bad." "There's one more item," the AI said. "The Union has requested the creation of more ships like me." Reyna raised an eyebrow. "Clones? All controlled by other species, none of them human." Reyna was quiet for a moment, then she shook her head. "No. One Leviathan is enough." Back in the shadows of the galaxy, Alvant the Harkari traitor watched the vote from exile. He wasn't happy. He was afraid. "They've won," he said softly, "but only for now." Behind him, hidden deep in a cold asteroid base, a machine pulsed with red light, the Oblivion Project. Not dead, only sleeping. For now, back on Earth. President Amina spoke to the world. "We were mocked. We were underestimated. We were betrayed." She paused, letting her words sink in. "But we showed them what it means to be human. It means fighting when you're weak, standing tall when you're alone, and rising. Again, and again, no matter who tries to stop you." The world cheered, and the stars listened. Months passed. Peace grew, but the Leviathan never rested. It patrolled the edge of known space watching. Waiting one night, Reyna stood alone in the observation deck. The stars stretched out before her, endless. Silent, the AI spoke softly. "You could retire now. Go home. You've done enough." Reyna looked out into the dark and smiled. "I think the galaxy's just getting started." "So are we," the AI replied. And so, Leviathan flew on across systems, through wormholes. Beyond the reach of maps, no longer a joke, no longer a secret, now a legend. And wherever it went, the stars whispered one truth: the humans have arrived, the end. The galaxy was holding its breath. Across star systems, people gathered around holoscreens, news channels, military feeds. And secret networks were all showing the same thing: a mysterious human warship floating in Drakari space. Silent, still, unmoving. And now, the mighty Drakari Empire had sent its strongest weapon, the Star Eater. A weapon so powerful, it could destroy entire planets in one blast. No one had used it in 500 years, because no one had dared. Until now, The Star Eater moved into position, shaped like a giant black ring, larger than a moon. At its center, a glowing red core spun slowly. Around it, thousands of ships formed a protective circle. Inside the control room of the Star Eater, Commander Valtor gave the final command. Target the human ship. Charge the core. The red energy in the center began to grow brighter, hotter, louder. It was like the scream of a star across the galaxy. People watched in silence. The Emperor sat on his throne, smiling. "Let the humans see our true power," said. The human ship still didn't move. It didn't run. It didn't speak. It simply ... waited. Commander Valtor's voice echoed. "Fire." The core exploded with light. A beam of pure energy blasted through space, fast as light, hotter than a sun. It hit the human warship directly. Everything went white. The screens shook. Sensors broke for 10 seconds. It was only light. Then silence as the light faded. The galaxy waited. Was the human ship gone? Was it finally over? And then the smoke cleared, and the human warship was still there, floating unharmed. Not a single mark on its surface. Not even dust. Inside the Star Eater control room, Commander Valtor stood frozen. "This is not possible," he whispered suddenly. Alarms began to scream. "All systems failing," shouted an officer. "We're losing power. What's happening?" On every ship in the Star Eater fleet, screens went black. Engines died. Weapons powered down. One by one, the ships began to drift. No explosions, no destruction, just silence. A single drone had left the human ship, small, silent, fast. It moved between the Drakari ships like a shadow. Every system it passed stopped working, and then the drone returned. A message appeared on every screen in the fleet in simple, clear words. "This was your first and only warning." Across the galaxy, chaos began. People screamed. Governments panicked. For the first time in galactic history, the Drakari Empire had been defeated. Without a single shot fired by the enemy. The Emperor's hands trembled. What kind of monster have we awakened? Far away, in the grand historical vault, Master Lorton watched the footage and nodded. He turned to his assistant and said softly, "They gave us a chance. We didn't listen. Now, we must remember who the Terrans truly are." Inside the human warship, something had changed. Its Ari had activated a new protocol. Defense mode. Passive gives active. The ship began to move, slowly, quietly. With purpose, it turned away from the fleet and sent one message into deep space, a simple code, 3 words, but for those who understood, it was terrifying. Earth is watching. After the failed attack by the Star Eater, the galaxy changed. For the first time in history, the Drakari Empire looked weak. 10,000 ships disabled. No human casualties. No human weapons even used. But the biggest surprise was yet to come. 2 days later, a small shuttle separated from the mysterious human warship. It moved slowly toward the nearest Drakari outpost, Station X-14. The shuttle had no weapons. It did not try to escape. It simply sent one message. "This is a gift. Take care of him." The Drakari were confused. Who was him? Inside the shuttle, they found a metal chamber. Cold, silent. When they opened it, they froze. Sleeping inside a cryopod was a human. He looked around, 30 years old, black hair, light skin, worn clothes with old Terran symbols. A small badge on his chest said only one word. He and the Drakari carried the pod carefully to their science lab. Soldiers, scientists, and leaders gathered around. No one had seen a living human in over 600 years? "Is he dangerous?" asked a soldier. "Maybe," said the lead scientist. "But not now. He's asleep." They began scanning his body. His DNA matched ancient human samples. But something was strange. His brain activity. It was too strong, too advanced. It's more than any normal life form. It's like he's part machine, whispered a doctor. Suddenly, without warning, Keon's eyes opened. They were bright silver. He looked around calmly, then sat up without help. The room went silent. "Where am I?" he asked. His voice was soft, deep, calm. Everyone stepped back. The head scientist stepped forward slowly. "You were in Drakari space. Can you understand me?" Keon nodded. "Yes. I understand many languages." He looked around the room. "This isn't Earth." "No," said the scientist. "Earth is gone." Keon's face changed, but not with fear, not with sadness. He smiled, a small knowing smile. "Is that what they told you?" he asked. The room was quiet. Keon stood up. Even though he had been asleep for centuries, his body was strong, his movements smooth. Then he asked, "Who fired?" "The Star Eater." The question shook everyone. "How do you know about that?" asked the soldier. Keon stepped forward slowly. "I know everything your empire has done. Your war, your fear, your mistake." His silver eyes glowed softly. "Didn't come to fight," he said. "I came to wake up." "Wake up what?" the scientist asked, confused. Keon looked toward the stars through the lab window. "Earth," he said. "Back on Drakari Prime, the Emperor was furious. You let a human land in our territory," he shouted. The generals tried to explain. "Came without force. He is calm. He hasn't attacked yet," roared the Emperor. "We must destroy him before others come." But Master Lorton stepped forward. "With respect, Your Grace, that would be a mistake." The Emperor turned. "Still believe in your dusty books?" Lortan held up a data crystal. "This human is not a soldier. He is a messenger. His arrival means Earth is not dead. It was never dead. It was hidden." The Emperor laughed. "Then we find it and burn it for real." Lorton shook his head. "You won't find it. Earth does not want to be found. But now, Earth wants us to know. It is watching." Inside station, 10 to 14, Keon sat calmly in his room. Guards stood outside, shaking with fear. Suddenly, Keon spoke through the door, through the walls. Without moving his lips, "You don't need to be afraid." His voice echoed in the guard's mind. The guard dropped his weapon in shock. How are you doing this?" he asked. Keon answered with a smile. "Terrans were never just human, not at the end." He closed his eyes, and miles away, in the center of the galaxy, hidden Terran satellites began to activate. Old systems came online. Sleeping world turned its eyes back toward the stars. Deep under the surface of Earth, machines woke up. Hidden cities lit up, and one voice whispered into the void, "We are Terrans. We never forget." The Drakari Empire had one question now. Where is Earth? They searched every map, every system, every old record. But Earth was gone, lost, no signals, no data, nothing but space dust. But Keon, the human prisoner, said otherwise. "Earth is alive," he told the scientists at Station X-14. "It was never destroyed. It was never weak. Oh, it simply chose to disappear." The Drakari didn't believe him, but they were afraid. In a dark chamber deep inside the palace, the Emperor ordered a secret mission. "Send a black probe," he told his spies. "Find Earth. Bring me proof. If it still lives, we destroy it." Probe was called Shadow Eye. It's the most advanced stealth drone in the galaxy. Invisible, silent, fast, it launched quietly and flew beyond Drakari space. Following old Terran coordinates, for days it flew through empty stars. Then, something strange happened. The stars ahead began to blur, as if space itself was hiding something. The Shadow Eye passed through the distortion field, and what it saw on the other side made its systems freeze. Earth, blue, green, beautiful, alive, but not the Earth of ancient records. This Earth had rings of satellites, giant space towers, a shield of light covering the planet. Strange machines floated in orbit. The cities below were not like before. They were massive, glowing, full of energy, and movement yet fully hidden from outside view. Earth had cloaked itself for 6 centuries. And now, it was awake. The probe sent data back to the Emperor, but before the transmission could complete, something moved. A single Terran defense satellite turned toward the Shadow Dash. I know. Weapon fired, no warning, just a pulse of light, and the probe vanished. Back. On Drakari Prime, only one image came through before the connection was lost. Earth. Glowing. Watching, the Emperor stared at the image, his eyes full of fear. They were hiding. For this long? D whispered. At Station X-14, the scientists showed Keon the image. He smiled. You finally found it, he said. How? The lead scientist asked. How did Earth hide from every scan, every satellite, every ship? Keon answered quietly. You looked with machines. Earth was hidden by will. The scientist blinked. Will? Yes, Keon said. Terrans became more than flesh and metal. We learned how to shape space, how to bend light, how to control what others see. He looked into the distance, and when we saw the galaxy choose war again, we chose silence. Now the silence had ended. On Earth, ancient Terran cores powered up, AI minds reconnected, long-distance gateways opened, and in the central tower of New Terra, the Terran High-A known only as Mother came online. Its voice echoed. Through the planet's defense grid, a Terran has awakened outside. Protocol Alpha begins. In orbit, Earth sent out its own signal. It traveled through hyperspace, fast and direct, and reached the lone Terran warship near Drakari space. Inside the ship, a quiet voice spoke. Keon is alive. Prepare for return. The ship slowly turned toward Earth. Its engines glowed softly, and for the first time in 600 years, human vessel moved toward home. The Drakari Empire watched in fear. We must stop that ship, said the Emperor. Destroy it before it returns. But none of their systems worked. Every fleet near the warship still floated, disabled by the drone's earlier strike, and the human ship ignored them. It didn't rush. It didn't hide. It simply moved forward, confident, calm, unstoppable. At Station X-14, Keon stood near the window. The guards no longer pointed weapons at him. They just watched him like a ghost from history. One young officer finally asked, What will Earth do now? Keon looked at him and said, Earth will offer peace. Peace? The officer asked, surprised. Even after we attacked you? Keon nodded. That is the Terran way. He turned, and his voice became deeper. But if peace is refused, we know how to end wars too. In secret Drakari chambers, rebellion whispers began to grow. Other races under the Empire's rule, the Varnak, the Yalari, the humans' old allies, saw the image of Earth, and they remembered. The Terrans were never many. But they had changed the galaxy once before. Maybe they would again. The Drakari Empire had been silent for days, since the failed attack on the human warship, since the discovery that Earth was alive. Everything had changed. Whispers of fear echoed through the Empire. Soldiers didn't sleep. Generals argued in secret rooms. Even the Emperor stayed hidden in his war chamber. But fear is a dangerous thing. So the Emperor gave one final order. We will send Godspear. It was not just a battleship. It was a floating death world, 10 kilometers wide. 3 R-cores, gravity weapons, black matter cannons. It had never been used in war because it was made to fight only one type of enemy. Terrans, the Emperor, had always feared their return. Now, he would use his final weapon to erase them once and for all. The Godspear arrived near the Terran warship. It dwarfed every ship around it. Black armor, red lines glowing across its surface like angry veins. Inside, tens of thousands of Drakari soldiers stood ready. Every weapon was powered up. Every cannon was locked. Admiral Krell, commander of the Godspear, stood on the bridge. He looked at the Terran warship on the screen, small, still fun. Destroy it, he ordered. The sky turned into fire. Lasers, torpedoes, Energy waves, everything the Godspear had was thrown at the human warship. The attack lasted 5 full minutes. Nothing could survive it. Nothing should survive it. When the smoke cleared, the Terran ship was still there. Again, not a single scratch. Admiral Krell's hands began to shake. Double quotes, how is it still alive? Someone whispered. The Terran warship finally moved. Only a little. Just enough to turn and face the Godspear. Then, it sent a signal. No words. Just a shape. An old symbol from Earth. A lion standing on a broken crown. Admiral Krell didn't understand. But Master Lortan, watching from Drakari Prime, did. It means, he whispered to himself, prepare to kneel, or fall. Then it happened. The Terran warship began to change. Its sides opened, not with weapons, but with light. A golden field wrapped around the ship. Its engines flared brighter than a star. Lines of energy ran across its surface, forming strange patterns that no longer looked like a ship. It looked like a living being, ancient, angry, awake. The Terran AI spoke, not with voice, but with thought, and Admiral Krell felt it directly in his mind. You have chosen destruction. We will now remind you what Terrans are. A single beam of light shot out from the Terran. Ship, thin, silent, fast. It touched the Godspear like a knife touches paper. And in the next second, the Godspear broke into 2 perfect pieces. No explosion, no fire, just silence. Then the halves began to fall apart slowly, like they were never solid to begin with. Inside, emergency systems screamed. Soldiers floated into space, but there was no resistance, no defense, only death. Billions across the galaxy watched the live stream, the strongest ship of the Drakari Empire, destroyed by 1 beam, 1 ship, 1 Terran, back on Earth. The AI known as Mother received the victory code. It whispered across the network. 1 reminder, complete. In hidden cities, Terran people began to walk outside. Children who had only seen stars in stories looked up and smiled. Is it time, Mama? A little girl asked. The woman nodded. Yes, the galaxy remembers us now. Back in Drakari space, the human warship turned again, but this time not toward the Empire. It turned toward Earth. It was going home. Behind it, the wreckage of the Godspear drifted like a grave in space. The Emperor sat alone in the throne room, shaking for the first time in his life. He understood what true power was, and it did not belong to him. On rebel worlds, the story spread fast. The Varnak started to rise. The Yellari began protests. Even Drakari citizens started whispering words they had never dared to say. Terrans are back. The balance is broken. Maybe this is a good thing. And deep inside the human ship, Keon stood on the observation deck. Watching the stars, he spoke softly to himself. We didn't want this war. But if it wakes the galaxy, then maybe it was worth it. The galaxy was no longer the same. The Terran warship had destroyed the mighty Godspear with just 1 beam of light, without sound, without rage, without effort. People across the stars could hardly believe it. Videos were everywhere. Ships, planets, space stations, all were playing the same footage on repeat. 1 human ship, 1 strike. 1 empire falling. On Drakari Prime, panic filled the halls of power. The Emperor shouted, "Shut down the broadcasts! Stop the rumors! Silence the media!" But it was too late. Even inside the palace, guards were whispering, "Maybe Terrans are protectors. Maybe we were lied to. Maybe it's time for change." The final act of desperation, the Emperor appeared on the Galactic Broadcast Network. His face was tired but still full of arrogance. "Citizens of the galaxy, do not be fooled. This Terran ship is a weapon of fear. The human species is dangerous and unstable. We must destroy Earth before it spreads chaos. Anyone who helps them will be punished." The message echoed across the stars, but before the transmission ended, every screen across the galaxy Jaleev, the image of the Emperor, vanished. The Drakari military systems crashed. Even private devices. Home screens and secure channels, everything went black. And then a new signal appeared. White text on a black background. You tried to erase us. Then the screen changed. A glowing symbol appeared. The Terran. Lion standing over a broken crown, and a voice began to speak. Not loud. Not angry. Just calm. Strong and unforgettable. This is Earth. We did not return for war. We returned because we heard the screams of the weak. And we remember what fear feels like. We were silent, not dead. Sleeping, not defeated. To those who are oppressed, you are not alone. To those who serve darkness, your time is ending. This is your chance. Rise or fall with your masters. The voice stopped. The screens went black again. Then the galaxy exploded into noise. On the planet Varnock, rebel ships rose into the sky, firing at Drakari patrols. On Yulari 3, enslaved miners threw down their tools and started walking toward the spaceports. On small colonies, secret groups activated hidden Terran devices. Old machines from ancient allies lit up again. Across dozens of systems, people began to stand, not in fear but with hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, the Terrans were here to change everything. In the shadows of Drakari space, even there, own soldiers hesitated. Do we follow the Emperor or history? One captain asked. History, said another. Terrans never speak twice. At Station X-14, Keon stood in the middle of the control room. He watched the chaos unfold on the galaxy map. Flashing red points marked rebellions. Flashing green marked systems that had turned off their Drakari communications. The map had more. Green every hour, one young technician whispered. They're listening to you. Keon nodded, not to me, to the truth. Back on Earth, the Terran AI mother sent a final update to Keon. Galactic communication channels are open. Rebellion has begun. Terran fleets remain cloaked, awaiting orders. Keon closed his eyes. He could feel everything, not just the screens, but the voices, the pain, the fear, the hope. Terrans had not returned to rule. They had returned to balance the scale, but the Emperor would not fall so easily. In a secret lab under the palace, he met with the Shadow Council, ancient scientists, weapon masters, and dark AI. We still have the cradle code, one whispered. The Emperor's eyes lit up. Then prepare it. If Earth wants to awaken old powers, then so will we. Far above in space, a human warship floated near Earth's edge. It had one job now: protect the gate, because Earth was opening a portal, not to attack, not to run, but to invite to gather allies, to begin something new. A final Terran message was sent. Quiet and simple. You have seen what one ship can do. Now imagine what happens when Earth stops holding back. The galaxy was burning not from war, but from awakening. After the Terran message, the people began to rise. Across 20 star systems, rebellion had started. The Drakari Empire, once feared, once unshakable, was cracking from the inside. But the Emperor had one final weapon. Beneath the Drakari capital, in a vault made of ancient metal, something terrible slept. It was not a ship. It was not a gun. It was a living machine, older than the Empire itself. They called it the Cradle Code, Super Rei, created from forbidden science. A weapon designed to control time, twist energy, and bend minds. The Emperor stood before it. Earth wants a final fight, he said. So we will give them the end of time itself. He activated the code. The vault shook. A red light filled the sky, and the Cradle Code woke up above Earth. Terran satellites picked up the signal. Inside the warship, Keon felt a sudden cold in his bones. They did it, he whispered. They woke it up. The Terran AI mother sent an alert across every hidden system. Code Omega detected. Full response authorized. All Terran forces decloak, and then Galaxy saw something it hadn't seen in 600 years. The Terran fleet. They didn't come from hyperspace. They came from inside reality itself. Unfolding like paper in space. Black, ships with golden light. living metal, silent engines. Thousands of them, not just warships, but carriers. Drones, AI mines, even planetary vessels, one by one. They appeared across the map. The galaxy trembled. The Emperor's final fleet minus 10,000 ships. All loyal surrounded the capital planet, and in the center, the cradle code floated, humming. Like a cursed god, the battle began. At first, the Drakari struck hard. Their weapons filled the void. Terran ships were hit, but they adapted instantly. Shields shifted, armor healed. Terran AI responded in seconds. One fleet of Drakari ships was disabled without a single loss. Another was erased by a pulse of energy that left no heat. No light, just silence. And then came the Terran Titans. Massive command ships, kilometers long. They moved like shadows. Each one carried cities. Each one could fight alone. One by one, the Drakari ships began to fall. But the real threat was still there, the cradle code. It began to twist reality, Terran. Ships lost time, lasers fired. Before they were aimed, soldiers screamed in their own dreams. Even AI systems began to glitch. Keon stood on the bridge, eyes glowing silver. "This is what destroyed the first suns," he said. "It bends cause and effect. It doesn't fight. It rewrites." Mother's voice came into his mind. "We must end it now. We must become what we were." Keon nodded. He placed his hand on the control core, and the warship changed. It split open, and from it rose a light. It's not a weapon, but a Terran soul core. Not machine, not human, something new. Keon floated into the light. He was no longer flesh. Alone, he was connected to Earth, to Mother, to the old Terran minds that had waited for this day. And then he spoke. Across all frequencies, all minds. "We do not rule. We do not conquer. We remember. We balance." He lifted his hand and pointed at the cradle code. "You are unnatural. You are fear. You are done." The soul core unleashed a single note like music, like memory. The cradle code screamed. It began to dissolve. Its code broke. Its logic collapsed. And then it was gone, just like that. The Emperor watched his final hope vanish. He fell to his knees and said only one word: Terrans. All across the Empire, the war stopped. The ships stopped firing. The orders stopped coming. The fear stopped growing. And into the silence came one last message from Earth. The war is over. We do not want to lead. We want peace. But now, you will remember, humans are not weak. We are Terrans, and we never forget. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy changed. The Drakari surrendered. Slave worlds were freed. Old allies returned to the stars, and Earth did not take power. It simply watched like a sleeping lion, calm but awake. On a quiet hill on Earth, Keon walked through a city full of light and laughter. A child ran to him. "Were you really out there?" she asked. He smiled. "Yes, but I came home." She looked at the sky. "Will the others come back?" Keon nodded. "One day, when they're ready." And far above, Terran satellites floated in peace, waiting, watching, protecting.